Welcome and thank you for attending today's webinar, Midlife Job Search Strategies. In today's job market, how can you take proactive steps to market your skills and abilities and increase your chances of midlife career success? Approximately 18% of those over 65 are working full or part-time, and that number is expected to increase according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So at the age of 40, many people are looking ahead to 25 or more years in the workforce. Therefore, like you, they're retooling and gaining new skills and education to expand opportunities for those later years in the workforce. For those of you who are not familiar with the Career Services Center, here's a slide of our team members. Lisa Cook is the Senior Director, and she's going to be moderating our questions later in the presentation today. Dina Berggren is Associate Director, and we have three Senior Career Advisors, Angie Lira, and myself, Denise Pranke, and Nicole Skalski, who is co-presenting with me today. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Denise. Thank you, and welcome, everyone.
We work out of the Minneapolis office, and our mission is to educate, coach, and advise our learners to proactively manage their careers. And we're very fortunate to have two guest panelists with us. Marta Pulley is a Walden alumna. She's a graduate of the MS in Instructional Design and Technology program. Hi, Marta.
Hi, Denise. Thank you for inviting me. Hello, everyone.
So great to have you here. Thank you. We also have Rudene Thomas, a current Walden student in the PhD in Public Policy and Administration program. Hi, Rudene.
Hi, everybody. So
great to have you here as well. And so with that, we'd like to hear next from everyone who's attending the webinar to let us know what brought you here today. Are you in an active job search, preparing for a job search, or planning on making a major career transition? So in the question feature, if you can just let us know what brought you here today.
Okay, Denise, they're coming in. We'll give everyone a few more seconds. It looks like a lot of you are in active job search. Some of you say you're approaching 40. Some of you say you're approaching 50. Current job search, currently in an active job search. A lot of you are in an active job search. Let's see, transitioning into a new career field. Active job search, over 50 and currently looking. Okay, you all came to the right place. Preparing to return to the workforce in a completely new sector. Okay, graduating in December with a master's in communications. Okay, welcome, Walter. Retooling for a new career on disability. Okay, 45 in training to transition. 58 and transitioning into a new field. Want some new direction. Switching careers at 48. Active job search. Preparing for job search. Retooling, 61. Great.
Wow.
Okay, we welcome all of you, and you came to the right place, and hopefully coming out of today's webinar, you'll have a lot of strategies and resources to positively move yourself forward. And I really appreciate your active participation here.
That's great. So a lot of you are actually in an active job search or in a major career transition as well. So again, thank you for joining us. So next, we're going to take a look at our topics for today. A U.S. Bureau of Labor study showed that people born between 1957 and 1964 have had 11 job changes by the time they're 48. So our career identities are evolving now more than ever. And we're going to talk about how to facilitate those changes. We'll also cover trends in the work world, hiring methods and strategies to update your resume and prepare for interviews. And again, we're privileged to have our panelists, Marta Pulley and Rudene Thomas, with us, who will share their stories. At Midlife, we reflect on our past and we reevaluate our lives and ask, am I on track for doing what I want to do with my life? Am I living a life that is authentic with who I am and in line with my values, strengths, and interests? There are clear benefits to age in the workplace. Jacqueline James, Director of Research at the Sloan Center on Aging at Boston University, states that numerous studies have shown that older workers are the most satisfied with their jobs and the most engaged of all age groups, which any manager can tell you leads to higher levels of presenteeism and productivity. They very often bring relevant experiences, strong attention to detail, and resilience built from years on the job that their younger peers may be less likely to offer. So next, Nicole is going to launch a poll. So while Nicole is getting that poll ready, so what you want to answer, it should have popped up on your screen. So we have the question for you: age and substantial experience are advantages in which of the following jobs? Please select one: financial advisor, career counselor, brand manager, consultant, or all of the above. And
okay,
so
we'll give everyone just a few more seconds here.
Choose one.
It looks like I'll wait till about 80% have voted. We have about 70% right now. We'll give it just a few more seconds. Great.
And thanks for participating.
Yeah, thanks
in
for
the poll.
participating, so many of you. Okay, it looks like we're at 80%. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'll share the results with everybody. So what is it looking like?
Oh, 92% said all of the above, which, yes, there are really many different areas where experience is really important. So it looks like everyone's a winner. We have a couple that chose brand manager and consultant, and that's definitely the case too. Really all of those and many other areas where really age is an advantage. So thanks for participating in that poll. So next, this is a quote from one of our favorite professional development authors, Herminia Ibarra. Identities change in practice as we start doing new things, crafting experiments, interacting with different people, shifting connections, and reinterpreting our own life stories through the lens of the emerging possibilities, making sense. And here's a visual representation showing Herminia Ibarra's advice. So as you manage your career, keep these three areas in mind. Are you gaining new experience? Are you meeting new people? And are you able to tell your career story in a compelling way? Midlife job seekers have extensive experience to reflect upon. As you prepare for your next career steps, think about your career identity and ask yourself, what are your values, abilities, and skills? What are your strengths and what do you enjoy doing? What is your professional reputation or brand? And what are your major professional accomplishments? And who's in your network? Who do you know? Who are other professionals that you have connections with? And how is your degree changing your career? And so next, we're going to hear from Marta Pulley about how she made a successful career transition. So Marta is a graduate of Walden's MS in Instructional Design and Technology program, and she's currently an online learning specialist for Essex County College in New Jersey. Hi, Marta.
Hi, Denise. Thank you for inviting me again.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. I have a few questions for you, and the first one is, Marta, I know you made a major career change from a child care services provider to an online learning specialist. What were important factors that helped you make that transition?
Okay, so finding a degree program that was related to what I was already familiar with, which was technical writing and project management, was a major factor that helped me make the transition. When I enrolled in the program, I was approaching 50, And so how much time I could dedicate to the program was a major consideration. And then by choosing the instructional design program versus something completely new saved me a lot of time and effort, and it also allowed me to excel in the courses. Another factor is the relationships I had built with my child care services clients, my book club members. I have a book club, colleagues from prior employment, and in terms of support, for example, giving me references, coaching, reviewing my resume or cover letter, and so forth. The other factor is staying up to date in my prior career field while I was still running my childcare business. And that career field was the project management. And I attended chapter meetings and volunteered in the chapter programs. I tried to make myself visible basically in the network of the project management group, taking online courses to keep my credentials current and staying in touch with former colleagues. And last but not least was the support and encouragement from family and friends, which were tremendously important.
Well, great. Thank you. I also know that you're an avid volunteer. Tell us how you're using volunteering to position yourself for the next step in your career.
So for about a year now, I have been volunteering for Coursera as a course mentor and recently as a translator. Coursera is one of the platforms that provides thousands of free online courses on any topic you can think of. You probably know about it. These courses are also referred to MOOCs, massive open online courses. So how I became a volunteer is I enrolled in a course at Coursera called Learning How to Learn. The course I enrolled in, the reason I enrolled in that course is I wanted to gain further insight into how people learn so that I could incorporate those insights into my instructional design work. So the course was actually very relevant to my job. I liked the course and was very active in the discussion forums, sharing ideas, resources, and also responding to students' posts. And in the process, I came across a post where several students had asked for a user-friendly version of all the lectures, videos, transcripts. The transcripts were in plain text format, and somehow they were difficult to follow. And so students were asking if they can have something that they can print easily and use it offline. So I figured I'd go ahead and do it. I liked working with documents, so I went ahead and reformatted the transcripts to a Word and PDF versions, added table of contents, page numbers, and basically made it a lot more user-friendly. And I forwarded it to the instructor and the course mentors to share with the class. And this led to the instructor and the course mentors inviting me to volunteer as a course mentor, which I accepted. And a few months ago, the professor asked me if I would be interested in translating the course from English to Amharic, which is my native language from Ethiopia. So now I formed a team of 3 volunteers, including myself, working on the translation. And in the process of this volunteering, I got to meet the lead professor, Dr. Barbara Oakley, very highly accomplished professor, very well known, and absolutely a delightful individual. So my role as a course mentor and translator continues to be a rewarding and fulfilling experience. I've learned a great deal from my fellow mentors. They're a very friendly, supportive group of people from various parts of the world, and I've made connections with them. And additionally, and importantly, in terms of career building, I now have Dr. Barbara Oakley in my network who said she'd be very happy to write me a reference should I need one for future positions. And having a reference from Dr. Oakley is a really big deal because she's, a really big known person in the academic world, and I'm very grateful for that. I didn't imagine this would happen when I started volunteering. I volunteer because I genuinely enjoy helping out where I can. But along the way, you meet someone like Dr. Oakley and you feel encouraged to do more and then establish a valuable connection. So I continue to volunteer for the Project Management Institution of New Jersey, and starting in April, I will be teaching at University of the People as a volunteer, an opportunity I'm very much looking forward to.
Wonderful. And Marta, these are all virtual volunteer activities that you're doing, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Great. So you're gaining all this experience virtually.
Correct.
That is just fantastic. That is such a wonderful story. And on the next slide, I just want to share with everyone the wonderful comments that Marta received in a weekly newsletter that goes out to over 1 million people who've taken the online Coursera course, Learning How to Learn. I am actually one of those over 1 million people. And so I was so excited when Marta was telling me this story. I know who Dr. Oakley is and just how highly regarded she is. And so that was just really exciting. And you can see here the comments. Thanks to the talents and hard work of learner Marta Pulley. It also says Marta is passionate and about education. And thanks to the extraordinary efforts of mentor Marta Pulley as well. And then the last statement there, Marta's quite amazing. I mean, so you built up this reference from a major, well-known professor in the online community through volunteering, and that's just such a wonderful story to share. Thank you so much. And we're going to move to our next slide, and I'd like to ask you, Marta, what advice do you have for others?
So networking connections are important, and they may not exactly get you a job, but they can play a key role in you landing a job. And the other thing is volunteer, attend professional conferences, and make yourself visible in your chosen career field as much as possible. Keep learning, keep your skills up to date, or get new skills, whether through volunteering or taking courses. There's so many free online courses out there now. Anybody can sign up and take those courses. And adapt to your situation and be ready to adjust your strategy. Be open to opportunities outside of your job description if it comes along, because you may find connections there that may help you get something better. And always be kind to people. And that's it. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Your story illustrates so much of what we're talking about in this presentation: gaining new experience, making new connections, and telling your story. Thank you so much, Marta.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so next, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole.
Great. Thank you, Denise. And a big, big thank you again to Marta for sharing her inspiring story of making connections and moving forward with her passions and career. And before we jump into our next topic, I'm also going to shoot out another poll to our audience here for you all to answer. So, what was the biggest factor that contributed to you landing your most recent job? What was the biggest factor that contributed to landing your most recent job? Was it through networking? Did you have prior experience or a contact at the organization? Did you send out an application in response to a job ad, submitted a cold application, or some other? And so we will give it a few minutes here, because this is an important question. Looks like we're getting quite the variety of responses. Okay.
Let's see what we have here.
So we're going to close it up, and it looks like between almost 40%, oh wait, I can share it here. 38% had prior experience, with the combination of 16% networking. That's over half of you at least had a contact at the organization or through networking. So we're trying to make the point here that either having a networking contact or a contact within the organization, I mean, research shows that those are the strongest contributors to a total of 54%. Okay. of you that had the first two responses. So those are strong contributions to landing a position. And with that, we're going to move on to the relevant topic of networking and branding and why they are so important to our career and midlife job search. And while I'm talking about networking and branding, I cannot emphasize enough the story of what Marta just said that really exemplifies that to the max. So, I mean, I can talk about networking and branding here, but the stories are really what should resonate with all of you on these Walden students and or alums really making that happen and walking the talk. Okay, so I'm going to try to make it brief because the stories are much more impactful. Most of us, you know, we network every day. We're actually kind of doing it right now on the webinar even and hearing the stories because we're all in the Walden community. We do it without even noticing it, and it really is just talking to other people, developing those relationships. And this can be in both a professional and a social context. So don't overlook, you know, if you have a hobby on the side, you get together like Martha with the book club, you're in a professional association, you play tennis, basketball, you're involved in your neighborhood association, it doesn't matter. That's all networking. And I do love the definition of networking, and I feel like many people look at it as sales, but we do want to remember that it is the art of building, both building and sustaining, mutually beneficial, which I think is really important, mutually beneficial, and the sustaining part. Sometimes we meet people for the first time, connect, but we don't really follow up. So when meeting others, you want to make sure that you communicate your unique value, which we're going to talk about next. Get their contact information, make sure you follow up, whether it's on LinkedIn, sending them an invite, sending them an email, or both. Make sure you personalize that email or invite. Make sure you state why you enjoyed meeting them and tell them something memorable about yourself, and always provide value to your contacts. Like Martha was saying, be kind, reach out. Look how much she's gained from just volunteering to do little things here and there. Because again, research shows that developing these relationships really leads to opportunities. And I say opportunities because, like Martha said, it's not always just a job. It's opportunities to develop and grow and maybe collaborate or volunteer. It doesn't matter. The opportunities are endless. So with that, we have here, your career mantra equals your unique value. So again, I just stated, you know, when meeting people, you want to be short, succinct, and memorable. So you're at a professional association or a conference, whatever your goal is, whether it's to change careers, and I know a lot of you said that you're transitioning, advance your career, you're going to re-enter the workforce, impact social change, whatever it is, an important part of marketing yourself and promoting and networking is being able to quickly communicate that brand. So that's where the career kind of slogan comes in, or mantra we say. We have some examples on the slide, really quick, short phrases that kind of illustrate or describe what you do, how you make a difference, how you provide value. So that's what we're trying to say there. I help kids overcome illiteracy. I deliver projects on task and on time. Here in Career Services, our mission is to educate, coach, and advise mid-career professionals like you all, or mid-career professionals and online learners, to proactively manage your career. So that would be kind of our mission statement over here, or our unique value that we provide. So who do you help? Why? What's your passion? You know, think about some reflective questions. What gets you up every day? What are your strengths? What do you love to do? What's your purpose? And then with that, if you're making a career transition, again, which many of you are, you're in active job search, it's important as you network, but to build your experience and skills to position yourself well for that next step. So let's take a look at some additional ways, and I'm saying additional beyond what Marta and Rudene, we're going to hear from Rudene very soon, on what they're doing and what you can be doing to strengthen your experience and your networks, because those kind of go hand in hand. You'll be working on those. Obviously, as Marta mentioned, her volunteering to do all that, she kind of rose above those 1 million other learners on the course. She made herself unique. She provided value. She was walking the talk of everything we're saying here. doing these transcripts, translating them. She rose above that. I'm not saying she's better than others. She's doing those little, taking those extra steps got her noticed, and she said she genuinely enjoys doing that. And now look at the opportunities it's bringing. So, I can't state that enough. So ways you can participate and strengthen your network and your brand are to volunteer, whether it's volunteering in your community, volunteering or expanding your job duties, delivering a professional development at work, such as Lunch and Learn. We've done that here in the Walden, Minneapolis office. Serving on a nonprofit board or a professional association board is a great way to gain leadership skills, completing a special project, etc. So there are many, many ways, and make sure also you track those accomplishments along the way. Just even if you keep them in short bullet points on a Word document, that way you'll have a document to update your resume, which Denise is also going to talk about further along, in very strong accomplishment statements. And with that, now we're going to hear from public policy doctoral student, Rudene Thomas. We're very, very appreciative to have her joining us today, along with Marta, and how she implemented some of these strategies, the ones we're exactly talking about right now, for her career advancement. Rudene, are you there?
I am here, and I thank you so much for inviting me on today's webinar.
Absolutely. So first question for you, Rudene. How did you develop your leadership skills? And I'm really emphasizing leadership here, that led to promotions and to your current position. And Rudene is currently a program analyst with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in Washington, D.C. So take it away, Rudene.
Okay. How I developed my leadership skills. In 1997, I came into the federal government. I worked at the National Institutes of Health. I participated in a training in March of 1998 with federally employed women. And when I participated in that organization, I decided that I wanted to become part of that organization by joining. I knew that I needed to have certain skill sets in order to move up in the federal government. So I thought this was a perfect organization to be involved in, and this will help me to grow. Also, it will give me the opportunity to participate on various committees. They were seeking a recording officer later on and asked me would I be interested in being their recording officer for the Bethesda chapter of Federal Employed Women. And at that time, I said, well, this would be a great opportunity. I said, yes. So when I became the recording officer, actually as a recording officer, what you're doing is taking the minutes to the chapter meetings. You attend all chapter meetings, and you're recording those minutes, documenting those minutes, and you also provide the minutes back to the chapter membership. I did that for about a year or two, and it was time for elections. I gave it some thought, and I said, you know, I'm ready to move up. I'm ready to step up. The chapter president position was became available. I decided I will run for that position. I did run for the position. I was nominated as the chapter president. I knew then that once I became chapter president, that it would give me the opportunity to work on my speaking skills, directing teams, volunteering with outside organizations, also becoming more knowledgeable about the few organizations on the upper levels. And I thought that was a very valuable asset to have. I put those skills onto my resume and applied to another position in the federal government at the National Institutes of Health, and I was received that opportunity based on those skills that I had at the time. I continued to work with federally employed women at the National Institutes of Health. It gave me great exposure to senior leadership. The women in the chapter, I must truly admit, they were very, very helpful. They gave me good guidance, good leadership, and good training, and I followed in their steps and ran a very well-managed chapter. And the Bethesda chapter of Federal Employed Women also has received numerous awards from the National Field Organization under my leadership, which I was very proud of. I worked truly, truly hard. I worked hard in my professional job as well, and in my volunteering job as well, too. But, you know, learning all these different things and juggling many balls, it helped tremendously because I continued to move on in my professional career. Not only did I move on in my professional career, but I also moved on in my volunteering career as well by gaining more additional skills, writing proposals, writing applications for awards, and that is truly important. Also, networking for fundraising, participating with outside organizations such as the Montgomery County Women's Fair, Montgomery County Legislative Briefing Committee. I served on those committees as well. And I got the opportunity to meet other women on these nonprofit organizations. And just to let you know, Federally Employed Women is a nonprofit organization. It is 501c3. We do have some men in the chapter. We don't eliminate men. Men are welcome to join Federally Employed Women. And we help women in the federal government to work on their career skills, especially in the lower grades. If they're trying to get a promotion, we encourage them to join and to volunteer on the various committees we have to offer. This will help you to build onto the skill sets that are needed that the federal government is looking for. Also, you put these skill sets onto your resume so that when the prospective federal employee is looking for someone, they can see that, oh yes, this person does volunteer work. Oh, well, they have led a chapter. They've done various things in the organization, and this person will be well suited to be in our organization to work with us because they're very diverse. And you have to be really diverse in volunteering and in your professional skills, your professional life as well in the federal government. And they like to see this on your resume that you do volunteer because it does help. Because in some positions, a lot of things you don't get the opportunity to do, whereas in a volunteer position, you do get the opportunity to participate and to, do public speaking, to be on the boards, to run a chapter, run meetings, and so forth. So that's how I got involved in Federally Employed Women. Now, I had moved on. I was at the National Institutes of Health for 9 years. I received a promotion at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I still had those skills on there. When I came on board I will use the acronym HUD, H-U-D, I sought out Federally Employed Women chapter there. At that time, the chapter was not really a chapter. It was talk of one coming together. So I met a nice woman who had the Federally Employed Women members to come out to talk to the women at HUD about it. When they came, they asked me to speak so I can talk about what FEW had to offer, and I did speak. The national president came, the regional manager came, and I talked to the women at HUD because I was fairly new, trying to encourage them to take advantage of having a chapter, what the chapter was all about, what we do to help women, what our legislative issues are, what our training that we provide. So then the chapter was formed. I was, at the time, when I came to HUD, I was working in the Office of Special Needs Assistance Programs dealing with homelessness. And I was in that position for 5 years, and I did enjoy working there in that office. It was a lot of work, but all the skill sets that I had were applied to my job. So that was a tremendous help. Then I decided, I said, well, I want to finish my education because that was a passion. I've always been very passionate about education. So I was going to school. I was working on my bachelor's at DeVry University. And then I decided that I want more education because I wanted to still continue to excel in the federal government. And since I was at HUD, I wanted to see what other opportunities were available. So I went for my master's degrees, and I went for 2 masters at the same time. I went for a master's in business administration with a concentration in project management and a master's in public administration with a concentration in government emphasis. During the time I was working full-time and taking 2 courses, 2 masters at the same time. My education, my volunteering, and my professional life all worked out very well for me and has allowed me to continue to move on. Last year, I just want to share with you, last year I was in the hallway looking at the bulletin board because HUD has a lot of senior people that were retiring. So there was a lot of announcements up. And I was standing there looking, and this gentleman comes along, and he says to me, he says, "Oh, what are you looking at?" And I said, "Oh, you know," says, "a lot of people leaving HUD." He said, "Oh, yeah?" And I said, "Yes, there is." And he said, "Oh." I said, "Well, I've been here for, at that time, I think it was about 9 years." And he said, "Oh." So we chatted a little bit. I said where I came from, and he told me where he came from, another agency he came from, and how long he'd been there. I said, "Okay." And I told him, I said, "Well, I have 2 masters." I shared that with him. He said, "Okay." So we parted. The next day, my boss tells me that this gentleman wants me to come and work on his grants competition as a reader. I said, okay. I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity because it's another way. I figured, I said, well, there's something for me that I may be able to move into his department. I didn't know at the time, but I took a chance. So I went on and participated on the competition, read the applications, and I'm a very detailed person. And in government, they like you to have details. And when I came to this paneling session, I brought the application with me. I brought my responses on why I scored the application the way I did. And that comes from all the training that I had under my volunteering role in federally employed women. And I shared all that information with them. And they were very impressed the way I presented the information to them and why I scored the applications that the way I scored them. I decided I received an email on how a great job I did by the senior leadership, and I was totally impressed by that. And I said, this is a good opportunity. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I'm going to print out my resume. I'm going to call the supervisor, and I'm going to ask him if I can have a 5-minute meeting, not 10 minutes, not 20 minutes, but 5 minutes. I figure if you say 5 minutes, you get 10 minutes, if it goes all well, you know. So I went flying around to his office because he said, sure, come on around. And I went around to his office, sat down, and gave him my resume and told him that I would be, if he ever had an opportunity, that I would be interested. So that was one way of networking, and that was a good networking process right there. So he said to me, he asked me, he said, I would love to have some help. He said, have you ever been on a detail? I said, no. He said, well, I'm going to get you a detail assignment. In the federal government, a detail assignment is an assignment that could last for 90 days or 120 days or however long they want it to last, depending on the need for that particular organization. So that gave me an opportunity to try out a detail that I have never done before. I did get the detail assignment. I went on detail assignment in January of this year. It worked out really beautifully. I really enjoyed working in there. And in June of this year, I got a promotion. So I am permanently there. But with all the skills, my education, my work experience, my knowledge, all of it came together, and it worked out just wonderful because I was the right fit for that particular organization. And I knew that I was the right fit because I really worked hard, and I wanted to make sure that I understood what was needed of me and of the job. I would meet with my current supervisor every Friday. We'd have this meeting, and we would go through things and make sure that everything was done on time. And he was thoroughly impressed, very impressed with my work ethics and everything. So I was very happy to be offered the opportunity to work in the Office of Policy Development Coordination. And it's a great team to work with, and I really enjoyed the supervisor I have because to me what's important is that he values my opinion, he listens carefully, and we work as a team. And I can always go to him and discuss, work products that need to be done, where we are, what should be done next, asking him. So we have a very good relationship and rapport. But I thank federally employed women and all my previous job experiences for helping me to get where I'm at today. And I'm going to continue to do my volunteering. Also, I have volunteered last year and the year before at Amadon Bowen Elementary School. I mentored a student, an elementary student during my lunch hour, and by reading to him to help him out. And that was rewarding as well. So I continuously volunteer. my services. And I like doing that. I even talk to women at HUD that, you know, I meet along the way, and we just have a conversation. We may have lunch or a coffee break, and I just try to help them out in any way that's possible, because sometimes people just don't know. And if I don't have the answer, I go out the way to go get the answer.
That's exactly right, Rudene. We really, really appreciate. We're going to move on to the career story and your brand. Could you just wrap it up because your story is so phenomenal about walking the talk. Just wrap up with these couple points or one or two more points of advice that you'd like to give to the audience.
Sure. Everyone should have a passion. You need to have a passion about something that you feel strongly about, something that you want to do. And I have a passion. My passion is to one day, sometime in the near future, to be an online professor to teach. I like communicating with people. To me, that's important. I like learning. I'm always in the stage of learning something new. I find it rewarding and challenging. I also like to serve my community as well. I was involved in the Homeowners Association, find out what's going on, and I did not serve on a committee at the time, but I would attend the meetings. I also recommend that you join a professional association. That is critically important if you're trying to grow your profession. You need to join so you can network with others. They can tell you where the opportunities are, who's looking for what skill sets they need, and so forth. Also, to continue to reach out and build on your connection. Always stay connected to them, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or just in the neighborhood or through your church, civic organizations. Continue to build your connections. The federal government has a website. It's usajobs.gov if you're looking for opportunities there. The website has been revamped, and that is a good thing because they take uploaded resumes. You don't have to go through the process of having their set standard resume. They just take it and upload your resume and take it from there.
Thank you so much, Rudene. Wow. That was phenomenal. So speaking of sharing your story, we have these phenomenal stories here of networking, getting involved in your professional association. So now we're going to talk about where to communicate your story and how to make it memorable. So we have all these stories from Rudene and Marta, and you can see the points that make it very memorable. And there are many venues to showcase your brand and your story. Of course, on social media, here in Career Services, we highly recommend LinkedIn. If you have a blog, of course, on your resume, whatever social media you're into, on Twitter, informational interviews, which is what Rudene mentioned with the guy she ran into in the hall. You just never know where you're going to meet people. That was an informational interview where she said, just give me 5 minutes of your time. You can present yourself in a non-formal interview context. Professional association events, conferences, publications, etc. And both of these ladies, and actually all of you all as online students, we just wanted to throw in here that it is really important to stay current and stay connected, but also by keeping up with technology. But I also want to mention it to you all. You all are already doing that. Today you're on the webinar. I'm not saying you're running the webinar, but you can see what it's like to be on a webinar, to ask questions, how the webinar platform works. Many of you probably use Skype. You're familiar with the Blackboard classroom. So don't underestimate your abilities. I'm assuming most of you should be on LinkedIn and you know how to navigate that in social media. So as Martha was saying, there are many, many ways to learn online. Both you're learning at Walden and for free. So make sure you keep up with that technology. Stay current, and also you meet people and build your network that way. And speaking of LinkedIn, has over 450 million members. So there, and it's really, majority are outside of the U.S. So it is truly a global, worldwide network. 2 million groups to join. We cannot emphasize enough. Career Services, this is not a LinkedIn webinar, but we have many, many LinkedIn resources that I also deliver. Also at residencies, we deliver workshops. So make sure you keep your profile updated with all these volunteer activities, professional associations, leadership roles, because you will get noticed. And recruiters are out there seeking talent. And speaking of LinkedIn, one great group to join immediately, if you haven't joined any groups, is our Walden University Career Services LinkedIn group. And the best way to join is to go to our website, careercenter.waldenu.edu. You can get there through your portal. Just click on the LinkedIn logo. So again, the Career Center website, click on the LinkedIn logo on the left-hand side where we have our list of social media. When you get to the LinkedIn group, upper right-hand corner, just hit join. And my supervisor, Lisa Cook, will accept you to join our group, and we post jobs in there. You can see our congratulations to our Associate Director, Dina Berggren, who was just nominated for a Laureate GPS Award. So we post blog stories on there, our Career Connections events, our webinars. And with that, I'm going to turn it over quickly to Denise to talk about some trends and get to questions.
Thanks, Nicole. So next we're going to take a quick look at some big picture trends. This slide from an AARP report shows that labor force participation is increasing for the over 50 age group. What's also interesting is that for ages 25 to 49, it's basically staying the same. So from this prediction, employers will be increasing their hiring in the over 50 age group coming up in the next few years. The same ARP report also found that the Bureau of Labor Statistics self-employment data shows a large shift in patterns of entrepreneurship toward older demographics, specifically those 55 and older. The report also stated that a study by the Kauffman Foundation that surveyed more than 650 U.S.-born CEOs and heads of product development found that even in the tech space, there are twice as many 50-plus tech founders than there were founders under age 25. That goes against what is often a perception in the workplace. And then on this slide, we're going to take a look at the gray bars, which show top sources for employers to find job applicants that result in a hire. So the data comes from nearly 13 million applications and more than 300,000 hires. We can see that the top source for hires is from referrals, and this is why we stress the importance of networking. The next top source are the large job search engines like Indeed.com and SimplyHire.com. The data also shows that internal hires are a top source to fill positions. And we heard that from Rudene's story about the federal government. This information shows that we should use multiple avenues in a job search. And then next, this chart reflects trends in hiring methods based on research by Richard Bowles, an expert in the career development field. He found similar results to the previous slide. Employers prefer to hire from within their organization. So how can you adapt to this preference? Look for volunteer opportunities within an organization, or accept a contract for a temporary assignment or contingent work through a temporary agency. If you're employed and interested in staying with your current employer, look for opportunities to build your internal network, just as Rudene did. And take on stretch assignments, as Rudene did, to become visible for a promotion or change. Bowles also found employers' second preference is to hire an unknown candidate but with proof of ability. To address this preference, consider creating a portfolio to showcase previous work or give professional presentations at conferences or local events. And the third preference he found is that a potential candidate is recommended by a friend or colleague. To address this preference, develop that strong professional network and reach out to your network to see who you may know at an organization that may be able to provide a recommendation for you. And so we looked at some big picture trends. Next, keep in mind that your job search is essentially a marketing campaign that you want to conduct with finesse and insight. A good place to start is to reflect on your multiple identities and fill any skills gap that you find. And think about what you most enjoyed in your previous positions. What were your major accomplishments and contributions? What are you passionate about, as both Marta and Rudene shared? And what are you learning in your academic program that most interests you? And then next, Target your search and research potential employers. Research the organization's mission, culture, products, or services. And you also want to determine if the organization is a good fit for you. Are your skills and values aligned with their challenges and culture? And even though we want to stress that your job search involves far more than sending out your resume, we want to go over a few resume tips and look at an example. To get into the group of 3 to 5 applicants who receive an invitation to interview, it's important to not only show that you're qualified, but that you're one of the best qualified candidates. Your marketing plan should include a strong LinkedIn profile, as Nicole mentioned, and a strong targeted resume. As you craft your resume, LinkedIn profile, and prepare for an interview, develop examples that tell your story. Short, concise stories that illustrate your qualifications are far more memorable than generic statements. We call these stories cart stories. They include a challenge, what was the problem, an action, what did you do, did you initiate it, and result, who or what was impacted and how, and quantify if possible, and then tie it into your future role. So next, let's look at some resume tips. So number 1, you want to include a branded headline and concise 3 to 5 line summary of your qualifications related to the position you're applying for. If you currently have a generic objective such as seeking a challenging position where I can use my skills and grow professionally, you want to take that out and replace it with a branded headline, such as we have here. Here's an example. Jane is a mid-career professional applying for a position as an executive director of a nonprofit that provides housing, health, and education as part of a community renewal initiative. So right away we see that she has a clear and well-organized layout. We also see her branding statement that she's a dedicated community leader and adult educator. She has a concise professional summary. She's keeping her information age neutral. And in her bullet points, she highlights her skills that match the job description. And notice she also included a link to her LinkedIn profile. And next, you want to focus on recent accomplishments and technology skills. On our example, under her professional experience, Jane organizes her accomplishments under subcategories according to the qualifications for the job. This allows her to highlight specific skills. She also quantifies her accomplishments. For example, in the first bullet point, she states doubled community participation in adult education small business entrepreneurship program from 40 to 80 participants within 12 months by implementing findings for program evaluation. And then one of the biases often cited in the career literature about the midlife job seeker is that they lack technology skills. But we've seen this is not the case for Walden students. So counter this bias on your document by highlighting your technology skills. We can see here how, on the sample, how Jane highlights her technology skills and provides results. She states, initiated webinars and enhanced website to illustrate program success and connect with potential funders. And this is a key phrase, resulting in an increase in grant funding from $450,000 to $810,000. And midlife job seekers also often have so much experience that their challenge is to determine what to edit out. So you want to edit out any irrelevant experience. And you want to keep your resume to 2 pages unless there's a specific reason to go back further, such as on a federal resume. And then you also can include professional affiliations and include your current degree. If you're in a current program and you haven't graduated yet, you can include that, but make sure that you state when you expect to graduate so the reader realizes that you're currently in that program and haven't graduated yet. And then next, resumes often go through a filter that searches for keywords that match the job description. Wordle's a great tool to compare keywords in your resume to the keywords in the job description. You can copy and paste your resume in the job description and then get a visual display of the words. The larger words are the words that show up more often. So you can see here the job description board is really large, and we can compare it to Jane's resume where we don't really see board very large. So she might want to go back and look and really expand on her board experience for this application. And then next, a few tips about interviewing. So you've applied, now you have an interview. Here are a few points to keep in mind. Preparation is key. Research the organization, know the organization's mission, challenges, products, and competition. Keep a copy of the job description for each position you apply for. So when you get a call for an interview, you can go back and review the job description. Sometimes they're gone off of the internet if you go back and try and find it. And then prepare stories using that CART formula that we talked about. Really focus on recent accomplishments. Go to the interview with questions in mind to ask the interviewer or interview panel. And if you haven't done so already, invest in an updated, maybe a few updated pieces for your wardrobe. Plan logistics, transportation, parking, copies of your documents, including references and your portfolio. And most of all, be confident and proud of your experience and academic accomplishments. And as many of you stated earlier, you're making a career transition. Keep in mind, making a major career transition takes courage to make that change. So be proud of that courage when you walk in for that interview. And then next, I want to point out that on the Career Services website, we have the Optimal Resume Interview Prep Tool. And it's a wonderful tool to help you practice. You can record yourself and then review and perfect your answers. You can access this free tool from the Career Services homepage. So really take advantage of it. You just have to sign in and create an account, use your Walden email address. It's excellent. We get so many positive comments from students about this tool. And then next, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa for questions.
Great. Thank you, Denise. Let's see. We have a couple questions so far. A question came up about what are the time limits on networking? If I made a connection at a professional conference 3 years ago and I find a need to reach out back to that contact, would it be appropriate for me to do so?
I'll take that one. Absolutely, yes. I met a Walden student who had met someone at a conference 2 years earlier. She got their card, she went back, and she had a conversation with this person at the conference and thought, oh, your company sounds really interesting. She kept that person's card. 2 years later, she was laid off from her position. She reconnected with that person. She had remembered him from the conference, and he said, send me your resume. She was hired there within 2 weeks. Oh, so absolutely, I would say, make those connections. But even better yet, sometimes, connect on LinkedIn, stay connected, send people a nice email. But yes, it's not too late to reconnect.
Great. I'm going to throw in a follow-up question for Rudene. Hi, Rudene. Hi. I have a question. I know you're a great networker. You have exceptional networking skills. What do you think makes you so good at networking? What's your networking philosophy that makes you so good at that?
Not having fear of facing people, just going up and having a conversation. You have to be open-minded.
Oh, open-minded. Okay, terrific. Yes. All right, excellent. So open at all times, like Roy Rogers said, strangers are friends I haven't met yet, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, another question. I'm 59 years old. The hospital said I had to tell them on their website all of my jobs, leaving nothing out. Oh my goodness. Their website wouldn't even take all the information. My friend said don't show what isn't in this century on my resume. What do I do about the demand to list all my jobs? That's a tough one.
I could take that one. I probably would contact their HR department and just say, that they have quite a bit of experience, and can they just put in their most recent experience, and if they need more, I know sometimes the federal government does too. certain positions, they want to know really everything about you. So just reach out to their HR department with that question.
Okay.
I don't know,
Great.
So, or Cole, do you have anything else to add to that?
They generally say 10 to 15 years.
Right.
Is the most relevant. So it's interesting because we're in 2016. So going back to 2000, that's probably, I wouldn't go back farther than that. So that's about right. I think they're giving good guidelines on that. But if you want to be really, you know, I think Denise's suggestion is a good one to confirm with them. But I don't think they expect, because, you know, if people have substantial work history, that would be one long application. You really want to focus on what's relevant.
Sometimes for security positions or security clearances, those type of positions, they might want to know everything about your past, you know, if it's something like that. So I think, you know, if that's the case, then
follow up.
Yeah, follow up. Yeah.
Great. Tracy asked, do the instructions that you've shared about resumes also apply to the CV? I do not have a resume. I do have a curriculum vitae.
Yes.
Oh, I can take that one. So yeah, in general, the accomplishment statements, the bullet points, of course, all the same kind of branding, highlighting your skills and accomplishments, those would apply on the CV. The CV is just another type of resume. It's more used at the doctoral level for higher ed teaching, research, and consulting jobs. It's more of a comprehensive document that highlights your academic and professional accomplishments as well, and we do have a CV guide on our website. But in terms of writing those bullet points, the accomplishment statements, sort of the formatting, that's all of the same. And if you need samples, you can refer to our website. I mean, we have plenty of samples, both CV and resume.
Great. Nicole, another question for you. So
Sure.
When someone is on LinkedIn, who are the most important people to stay in contact with?
That's a good question. I would say that's all relevant to the individual. I mean, there wouldn't be one person over another, but you always want to start out with, if you're new to LinkedIn, your first 50 contacts, and that makes your profile complete. But of course, professional contacts, but I would say both inside and outside of the workplace, you want to diversify, as we say, your circles of influence. So of course, starting with your workplace, your colleagues, as you develop those relationships, and then expanding out. So logically, that would be if you attend conferences, you're volunteering, kind of doing all the things that Rudene and Marta said, you're going to kind of naturally and organically expand your contacts. And then I would always try to keep in touch with them. Everyone has their own philosophy. Some people are open networkers. I build contacts slowly over time, and I would really prefer to have met the person face-to-face before I link in with them, and to make sure I can provide value to them and they can to me. So going back to that mutually beneficial relationship where you feel that connection with the person, that's where I would say I would focus on those contacts, if that makes sense.
Excellent. Okay, and Tara asked the question, when joining a professional association, do you sign up as a student member or a regular member?
Well, as a Walden student, you can inquire about signing up as a student member, and that's a really good idea because you can get a student discount. So I would highly recommend that during your student time to do that. Exactly.
Excellent. And John asks, do you help people build their resumes?
Yes, absolutely. So we have different ways of providing resources. One is our Career Services website. From the website, that can take you on the Resumes and CVs tab. It can take you to samples. It can take you to our Optimal Resume System, which is free to all Walden students and alumni. We have over 400 resume samples, including CV samples, and many of the resume samples are customized to Walden programs. We have a CV guide, we have videos, we have tutorials, pretty much anything you want. And if you have a draft of your resume, then you can schedule a one-on-one phone appointment with us through your portal, and we can provide one-on-one coaching for your resume too, and provide feedback and critique it for you.
Excellent. And Pamela asked the question, will I have full access to the Career Center and its resources when I complete my final quarter with Walden? I'll take that one. Yes, you will, Pamela. You still have access to all the resources, including optimal resume that Nicole had just mentioned. You'll keep your resume account after you graduate. So yes, our services are open when you become an alumnus. So, and we encourage everyone to join our Career Services Center LinkedIn group, especially alumni, so that they can stay informed of what our offerings are. So anyway, so great question. And actually, I think that's it. We covered all the questions. So I'm going to hand it back to you both to wrap up the program. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisa. Excellent questions. Okay, I know out of respect for time, because we have gone over the hour, I'm just going to go quickly through these last slides. And no one needs to worry because this is recorded. It will be archived on our website. And I want to emphasize that all of the resources at the end, I will go through quickly, again, out of respect for time, but I will have a comprehensive handout of all the books, websites, resources, everything on there, and people can download it as a handout, just so you know. So again, I mentioned our webinars. We have over 80 archived webinars. This is all on the Career Center website. We have the Quick Start videos. So all of you that mentioned you're in active job search, I highly recommend these Quick Start videos. Again, you can access from the homepage of the Career Center website. Speaking of stories, like Marta and Rudene, we have amazing career success stories, both outlined on our blog and in video format on a YouTube channel. Again, all from the homepage of our website. Here are our resources that you'll be able to access with the webinar archive. Doing job search, networking, volunteering, LinkedIn groups we recommend, websites for 50 plus or encore careers, very comprehensive resources and books as well. Highly recommend that you take advantage of career services. Again, our website, join our LinkedIn group. And as we wrap up today, I would like to leave you with this inspirational quote, please forget about your age and instead consider your stage. And I think our speakers, our guest panelists, Rudene and Marta, really brought that quote to life. So to speak,